Okay, let me rewind that back because I was mute. Hey, everybody. Happy Thursday night. It is February the 18th, another day that the Lord has made. We shall rejoice and be glad in it. And guys, I am pumped up. I am genuinely excited tonight because Mr. Nick Dillon is on Speak Life with me, and it's going to be an amazing show because he has such wisdom and such knowledge. And so I'm excited for him to be here tonight. So what I ask you guys to do, you beautiful people, that's watching now, is to go ahead and share this and invite your friends and family and your tribe and your groups and all those wonderful things. If you are catching the replay, welcome to all of you beautiful replay viewers. You can too share and comment and like this with your friends. If there's something that you hear tonight that resonates with you and what Mr. Nick says, please feel free to reach out to him. I will post his information in the chat box periodically throughout the night. And you can also go back in the description and find all of his contact information so you can follow up with him. If you're looking for a keynote speaker for both men and women, for your group, for your leadership team, he is a John Maxwell certified team member. And I'll share all of his official bio with you in a second. But invite your friends, tell them that the student teacher is on with Mr. Nick Dillon tonight. So I am very, very, very excited. So for some of you who may or may not know, we were supposed to do an event. We did this event 2 years ago. It was called Pretty Broken and Handsomely Hearted, Healing the Hurting Church Girl and the Handsome Gentleman, right? So coming back around, do it again virtually this year. Pretty Healed and Handsomely Whole. And so let me see if y'all can see. So we have the red Pretty Healed shirts. We have the red, the white, the black. The black has been like our bestseller. We have the Handsomely Whole attire. You can go to prettyheal.com and check all that out. So I launched this line October 31st, which was Halloween. And I knew I wanted it to come back because it was powerful. We had an in-person event. It was a small numbers, maybe like 25 people gathered. I was looking like, with COVID, you have to have a small number, but I've always had like intimate type events. So if I was to have something in person, I don't think we would be against, code or anything like that. And so it was so powerful. And I was telling Mr. Nick just now that one of our MC, Shania Ellis. And for those of you who've been asking about turning your book into a play, she is going to do a masterclass soon. I've been giving her information to everybody who's been asking me, but as soon as she get her next masterclass up, I will send it to you guys. So she was our MC. She does something called the Glow Up Show. You can follow her on IG, Shania Ellis. And her husband came with her and they attended the men's only session. So of course I couldn't go back there because I'm not a man. And she said that all they talked about was Mr. Nick's session. And it just speaks to his character. He is from Wisconsin. So let me get into all of this, but I want to share all of that with you guys first so you can know that this ain't just some run-of-the-mill man, but it's a man of great leadership and a man of great wisdom who will be able to transform your team, your family, your home, your businesses, or your ministry if you bring him in to speak to you guys. And so with that, we were supposed to do the virtual experience of Pretty Healed, Handsomely Whole. Well, first it was postponed. The ticket sales was kind of low, and I shared all of that with them. And then I was washing dishes in the kitchen, and I was like, nope, just cancel that. So I was like, okay. But I knew I wanted Mr. Nick to come and speak. And so he told me what he had prepared for that event. He has it tonight. And so you guys are in for a treat for sure. So let me give you a little bit of information about him that I haven't already, that you may not have seen in the previous post that I made about him. And then I'm going to welcome Mr. Nicholas Dillon to Sweet Life Stage. So Mr. Nick Dillon, he's inspirational, he's innovative, and he's empowering. And these are just a few words to describe the character of Mr. Nicholas Dillon. He's an entrepreneur in his own right, and he's on a mission to pursue his passion and build a legacy of influence, right? I believe it was John Maxwell that said this, that if you're a leader and nobody's following you, just taking a walk, right? But there are people, men and women, who are following Mr. Nick. So he's definitely a man of great influence. Thousands of individuals from the community to corporate America, they have learned from Dillon's insight on leadership and professional development, entrepreneurship, and personal empowerment. And if this time, I know it's a pandemic going on, a lot of crisis is happening, But I believe this is one of the greatest times where you can become an entrepreneur. So if you're looking to get in that space, Mr. Nick is definitely somebody that you want to look up to. He says, my dad always had an entrepreneur spirit, and my mom encouraged me to be the best I can be in life, because average will never get noticed or recognized. So you should type that in the chat box. Average doesn't get you noticed. Average doesn't get you recognized. And the church said, amen. So Mr. Nick lives in Milwaukee. So he's probably used to the cold. He's a Milwaukee native, possesses a Bachelor of Arts in Communication and a Master's in Adult Education. He's an alumni of Marquette University and the University of Phoenix, respectfully. Mr. Nicholas also completed an additional MS degree in counseling from the University of Wisconsin, Platteville, and is currently enrolled in a postgraduate doctoral studies in behavioral psychology. So soon we're going to be saying Dr. Nicholas Dillon. So I'm excited to welcome Mr. Nick to the Speak Life stage. Let me get my soundboard together. I used to hear all these people like on Clubhouse at a soundboard. So I went to school and I was asking my 8th graders, I said, guys, like, I see people doing that. And one of my students was like, oh, it's a soundboard. So we downloaded a writing class. I use all kinds of sounds in class, but I'm going to use this applause to welcome Mr. Nicholas Dillon. Can you hear my applause? Welcome, Mr. How are you doing?
I am well. How are you?
I'm well. I'm really pumped up. Like, this ain't even for the cameras. I was just excited to talk to you when you first came on. So I'm excited. Thank you for being a part. Like, thank you, first of all, for being a part of the very first one. Because I didn't know where I was going to get a man of such character and dynamics to part. And my God, you came from Wisconsin, and I'm so forever thankful and grateful.
No, thank you so much for inviting and for having me. And I will tell you that vision of tell me the acronym again. It's pretty healed and handsomely whole.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that was not only a powerful vision, but I experiencing that service and that program is and probably will be one of the most impactful events that I have ever attended in my life. It was life-changing for me. I could see in the room that it was life-changing for the participants. And it speaks to the ability to be vulnerable to the process, but more importantly, that whatever we go through in life, it all plays a part in how we end up being who we are today. And our stories, our personal stories, are so powerful. And if each and every one of us will continue to get the courage to be able to share and be open and honest with the journey of where we've came from, and have the hopes and the honesty of continuing to be our highest and best selves, the sky is the limit to where we can go.
Wow. I'm just like, I don't even know what to say to that, but wow. You just never know, like, how your yes will be impactful. So, what was saying that, Mr. Nick? Wow.
Yes.
And I think I shared it, David. I had never talked about and I think he was in the room when I shared about my whole situationship with in prison. And I've never talked about that publicly. So this is the first time they even hear, like, what's she talking about? I never talked about that. And that was in February. And Trudy, I don't know if you remember her, but she was the one who went to prison from the pastor situation. And so after that, we connected, and she was my accountability partner, because she was telling me kind of about, federal prison and, certain things. And it took me I still talked to her for months, but it wasn't until like that following December. So it was probably maybe like 7-8 months when I was really able to break free. So how you feel like it was really life-changing for me, because I was holding it in. I didn't know where to go with it, and I shared it there. And I was able to get free. So, wow. So now you're back for the second time, Mr. Nick. You're always welcome here. You can come here anytime. I don't even have to be. You can come here anytime. So you told me that you was gonna go from the mindset because Mr. Nick is a belief coach. He's John Maxwell certified team member. So if you're looking for leadership, you're looking for someone to hire to speak. He gonna speak for himself, but I'm telling you. So he's gonna come from the mindset of believing through crisis. And a lot of us, we know we've been in a crisis now. Some been in a crisis. But I definitely want him to feel free, Mr. Nick, to share whatever it is you're doing. There, I think I can hear like a TV or something in your background. I'm not sure.
No, I should be off. I think you might hear a little bit of talking in the background, but I think you're okay now.
Oh, okay. All right, Mr. Nick, take it over. And guys, please put your comments, please put your questions in the comment section, and I'll pull them up and we'll engage you guys now. And even if you catch this on the replay, we will definitely engage you after Mr. Nick dropped this knowledge on us.
Thank you so much. I just really appreciate for the opportunity to be able to be present, to be a part of this, to be able to share a word this evening just about the mindset of believing through crisis. And one of the unique things that I have learned, and I think the world has taught us all over the last year, is what it feels like to get in a space of uncertainty, what it feels like to not have the control you thought you had, what it feels like to want to go and do some things and you can't. But what it has also taught us is that if you are still here, if you are still moving, if you are still in this space, there's still work to be done. But what I will tell you today is that if you paused and you didn't allow yourself to stay in motion last year, you missed out on some things. Because even during crisis, there's always going to be some opportunities. There's always going to be some possibilities. And it's during these times that I want us to just really remember, it's during times like this, especially when you get in a space of uncertainty or it seemingly looks like we don't have control of what's going on. It's during these times that we ourselves get to test our own resiliency. And one of the unique things that I try to do each and every day is grow mentally, spiritually, physically, and emotionally. And you should be constantly looking to take care of your whole self. And part of that means that you got to be in preparation for what is to come. And I often coin the phrase that we are either going through a storm, coming out of a storm, or getting ready for one. And so if we're not ready and we're not constantly pouring into ourselves and working on us, then what happens is that when these trials and challenges and opportunities come in our way, we're not ready. And right now, none of us know where this pandemic is going to take us, but yet we got to still be in flow. We got to still keep it moving. We got to still stay in purpose. And so what I want to just talk through today is just, if you have some pencil and paper, I want everyone to write the word believe vertically on their page. So just straight down, BELIEVE, because we're going to take this word believe that's going to help us give you some tools as we talk about believing through crisis. And so when we think about, this whole mindset of believing through crisis, what comes to mind for me is the notion that I must continue, the notion that there still is work to be done. Because for me, and I would say to each and every one of us, if we're living, there's a purpose for our life. If we're living, there's a mission, there's a vision, there's a purpose, there's something that we can be doing each and every day to add value. And so even if you pray and ask God in your moment right now, if you lollygagged around last year and you really want to get in purpose and find where you should be in this moment, take these notes as we talk through them today. And as we start, I want us to consider that the B in this believe is, I want you to consider the word breakthrough. Take that word breakthrough. And as you think about this word breakthrough, I want you to come from a space of the end, the light at the end of the tunnel. Soon it will be over, that glimpse of hope. Because anytime we've been into things, and we can all reflect on our lives when we've had some challenges, some situations, some things that have happened in our lives, there always was an end. There always was a moment or a turnaround or something that allowed us to at least see that there's hope. And so when we think about breakthrough, I want you to think in terms of crisis, in terms of this pandemic, is there's going to be breakthrough. And in fact, we've already started to see a little bit of breakthrough. We actually started seeing a little bit of it last year. And although the numbers and things were fluctuated and we saw a whole lot of deaths happen around the globe and everything, we also saw progress, because now we got a vaccine. We've got several vaccines. So that's the breakthrough. And that's part of the breakthrough. But what I want us to see for ourselves is, as I go through this, my own individualized self, I got to ask myself, if I'm employed, what is this telling me right now? Because for a lot of us, your jobs changed. Some of your jobs went from seeing each other socially every day to working remotely. And I know for some of you, that working remotely may have been isolation. That working remotely may have taken your social away. That working remotely may have taken you in a depression, because you're cooped up in the house and you're feeling like you don't have the ability to get out and do what you want to do. Some of us have children home and we've got to manage that. Some of us have to manage homeschooling our children and working 8 hours and 8 hours plus a day at the same time. We still have to manage that. Yet and still, we've already shown ourselves that we can do it. If we're still here today, we've shown ourselves a little bit of resilience, patient, long suffering, all those things that we do have the ability to do it. So we're learning through this. Okay, so there's going to be some mindset shifting that goes on, that has to go on as part of this process. And that is that if I'm going to have a breakthrough, then that means I've got to grow through this. Not just go through, I got to grow through. I got to take some time, and I got to be picking up the nuggets that come along and the things that I'm learning in this process that show me that a breakthrough is coming. And utilize these moments. I like to tell people that one of the unique things that we found that happened last year, and that is that George Floyd happened. And because we've had the pandemic, but we've also had the civil unrest and all kinds of other things that have happened along the way. But the world slowed down with the pandemic so that we could see George Floyd happening. Because the reality for us is, as people of color, George Floyd scenario has been happening for many a times, but they come and go. This time, the world paused and it slowed down, and we all got to see it in real time. And because the social was gone away, so we all were glued to the TV and we were all glued to online. And yes, it's created a whirlwind effect of organizations all over the globe saying we've got to do things differently about diversity, equity, and inclusion. Organizations taking a stance. We're moving. Well, if we really just tune into this, folks, guess what? That's breakthrough. And for people that might be older than me, this may be their breakthrough. Even for myself, you can see that as breakthrough, because change is happening. The impact of some things are happening. And so I say to each and every one of us, while we're going through this whole challenge here, is remember that a breakthrough is coming. You've got to believe that a breakthrough is for you. You got to believe that a breakthrough is happening, because if you believe it, then you will operate as though it is. Okay? We operate and we move in the space that there's got to be continued movement. Yes, I will also tell you, guess what? Last year, millionaires happened, billionaires happened. Stuff was innovated, stuff was created, new businesses were started. Yes, a whole lot of them closed and shut down and lost a whole lot of revenue. But on the flip side of that, some growth happened. Some progress happened. A lot of things progressively move forward. And how they happened in terms of breakthrough is mindset. People saw opportunity and possibilities even during the crisis. And if I see possibilities and opportunities, that's telling you I see breakthrough. I see some things that can happen that can manifest and change the outlook of what is to come. Okay? And so I want you to go from breakthrough with the B to the letter E, which is emerge. I want you to just consider this word emerge, because emerge is, if it's got to be a breakthrough, then that means I got to come out of it. And if I got to come out of it, I got to emerge stronger, wiser, with a whole lot more wisdom, with a whole lot more, momentum and excitement. We can't lose that. So that tells me I got to utilize the opportunities in these moments, not to have a pity party, not to have a woe is me, not to have a what am I going to do? I can't do this and I can't do that. Because I will tell us, while a lot of us have complained about being in the house and not being able to go anywhere, in third world countries, this is their normal every day. We sitting in the house with a refrigerator full of food, TV, the internet, and a whole bunch of toilet paper. And we complain. Okay? So we got to think about that we got to emerge through this. And if I'm going to emerge with a breakthrough, then that means I got to come out of this stronger, wiser, prepared, because there's opportunities here. So we can't sleep on this. I got to grow if I'm looking, because unfortunately, this time has made organizations kind of think about finances, economy, their budgets, and how they've had to shift to make things look and be different. Well, guess what? If I'm not sleeping, then I'm finding a ways of how to professionally develop myself. So that if you got to look at how you got to restructure and do things different so that you can stay in business, I want to be able to emerge to be one of those that you decide you want to keep instead of lay off. I want to be one of those that work on my business and calibrate and pivot. I may have been a business, even I myself, I was a business. I do a lot of things in person. I do a lot of things, I do counseling, I do coaching and teaching and training, and I do all of that stuff in front of people, live in person. Well, guess what? I had to make some choices to pivot, to shift, and not be scared, and learn some new technology and get in the space of being able to do things virtually. And yes, it doesn't look and feel good initially, but you eventually learn to grow. Why? So that you can emerge in a new space you may not have been in before. And the beautiful thing of this is that when you emerge better. There shouldn't be anybody emerging any less than what they were before this started. This is our opportunity to grow at the highest level. And we've got to utilize this moment to be able to make sure that we emerge when that breakthrough is happening and that breakthrough is over. I want them to say, wow, man, what have you done all this time? What have you done other than when you saw me, I was size 2 and now I'm a 10. Because yeah, we eat better. You don't want that to be the only change that we see. I want us to grow mentally. I want us to go spiritually. I want us to go physically, and I want us to grow emotionally. Build those muscles through this crisis, through this pandemic, so that we set ourselves up for the opportunities and the possibilities that will be available to us when this is over. And then I want you to shift to the L. So we got the B, the E, and the L. And the L is life lessons. One of the unique things that life has taught me is life lessons. And guess what, folks? It's during challenging times and even in times of crisis that we start to get in reflection mode. I like to journal. So during these last years, while I've journaled a lot, I've also just pulled out journals and just reflected through those journals on the life lessons I learned in challenging times before. Well, this is an opportunity for us to pull on those life lessons, those things that maybe grandma taught us, that maybe daddy taught us, that maybe mama taught us, that maybe a good teacher taught us or mentor taught us, and draw on those things that allow you to emerge through this process, that allow you to stay the course through this process so that you come out stronger, wiser, and better. But those life lessons matter. And some of those things that I remember, years ago in the early 90s, I remember a good mentor of mine telling me that, you know what, Nick, whatever you do as an entrepreneur, make sure you don't put all your eggs in one basket. You got to have multiple areas that you focus in, and you need multiple areas of your business to generate revenue. Now, that was the early 90s. I was told that. Well, I drawed on that life lesson during this pandemic, and it served me during these times of challenge and crisis, that I could shift and go from maybe teaching and go from maybe training and go from maybe counseling and coaching and mentorship and doing some stuff with healthcare. I got to go through multiple different areas to shift and pivot to be able to still survive in this process. But if I wouldn't have listened to those life lessons, I would have had all my eggs in one basket, all my energy on one thing, and I would have focused on that thing that may have struggled during this time. And so we got to be open sometimes to receiving those nuggets when they're dropped in our lap, and then pull on those in times that we find them to be helpful. Now I want to shift you to the I. So we got that B-E-L, but the I is influence. And one of the great things that I love, John Maxwell, who talks about the power of influence. And influence is big and it's huge. And what you've seen, if you've been paying attention, is the power of positive influence and the power of negative influence. We've seen that in a great way this past year. And where you want to be is on the power of positive influence. You want to build an influence, because leadership is definitely positive influence. But the way you emerge is through that positive influence. The way you emerge is through exemplifying those life lessons in action. The way you emerge is focusing on your purpose, because your purpose will get through the breakthrough. Those are things that we got to remember of how influence really builds us up. And so when influence is out there, it takes us to a totally new level. And when we say influence, that means we're adding positive value to other people. That means we're showing up our highest and best self, because whether we like it or not, even this past year and even today, someone's watching you. You are an influence to somebody. Someone's watching how you're teaching, how you're growing, how you're communicating, how you're resolving conflict, what you're saying in order to be able to get through the process and be able to maximize what needs to happen for you in your business and or your life. Yes, influence matters. And if we're not paying attention, we lose that influence, and we also lose the opportunity. Building positive relationships can build your influence. Being creative and innovative and taking risk can build positive influence. But you've got to show up that way. If I would have showed up all last year in a woe is me pity party, that could have impacted my influence to others. Because again, when we're on social media, believe it or not, people are watching. When we're in the workplace, they're watching. Even virtually, folks, they get even more tuned in to your nonverbal. They're getting more tuned in to how you show up and to your tone, and they're listening and they're paying attention in an even greater way than they did before. But we've got to look at and listen to that to know that if I don't pay attention, if I don't, garnish from that, and some of the life lessons I've gotten are from people that are influential in my life, and I aspire to be an influence like those individuals because I see where they are and I see where they can take me. Okay, so let's shift now to the E, the second E. So we got BELIE, and this E is endurance. Because yes, folks, we're in a challenging time. We're in a time of uncertainty, and we're in what we can consider a crisis. And if breakthrough has to happen, then that means I've got to endure through the process. And how I get there is I reflect on the trials and the challenges and the tribulations that God has brought me through historically. And I remind myself that if he did it then, he will do it now. And I keep it moving and I keep staying the course because I read an excellent book that I always remember, and it always comes to mind. And it's Think and Grow Rich. Great book. If you haven't read it, it's an awesome book. But I remember the story, and I remember the story of the guy that was digging for gold. And he was digging for gold and digging for gold, and it's all about endurance. And somebody came along. He had been digging for a while, and somebody came along and told him that they would pay him X amount of money for the equipment if he was tired, and he'd buy the equipment. He'd buy the equipment from him. And he accepted the money, and they bought all his equipment. And then the new person came along, and all he had to do was dig 3 more feet, and he got to gold. Just 3 more feet, folks. And for some of us, that's a day. For some of us, that's an hour. For some of us, that's a week. And what you've got to keep reminding yourself, as I tell my individuals in my recovery groups, is all I need to do is get to this time tomorrow. And if I can allow myself to work and get to this time tomorrow on a level of endurance that's just really 24 hours, then there's no telling what I can do to the following day and the following day and the following day. Just get me to this time tomorrow. And if I can muster up enough wisdom, enough strength, and enough hope and breakthrough and emerge for 24 more hours and just reflect on those lessons learned for the last 24 hours and tell myself I'm building influence for the next 24 hours, then I will maximize my endurance. And again, folks, it's during this period of endurance, it's where we pull on all that muscle of life we built on. Okay? I've built on this. I've done this. I've been down this road. I had to remind myself. And I'll tell you, where endurance came in for me is in July of last year. Yes, folks, I had the COVID-19. I got it. And I ended up in the hospital. I ended up collapsing at home, and my wife had to call 911, and I ended up in the hospital. Nobody could come see me during that time. And I remember in that moment telling myself, going right to life lessons, going right to breakthrough, and telling myself that God, you have brought me out of so much more than this. I gotta lean and depend on you right now to continue to get me out of it. Because if it's gonna be done, It's going to be you doing it in your name. And guess what? Yeah, it was 3 weeks, 21 days. They sent me home, and for 21 days they called each and every day to check on me and make sure I was doing okay. And yes, I went from very, very, very weak and very, very, very exhausted and fatigued out. But not once did I stop working on my mental and emotional health. Now, while my body was weak, I could still praise him in song. I could still praise him in my mind. I could still have some mindfulness moments. I could even still be creative if I wanted to, even though my body was weak. That's endurance, folks. All in the name of, I don't know what this is. I've never felt it before, but if it's going to be done, it's going to happen through you. But I will also tell you the power of the mind in healing and just believing that things will happen, just believing that you can make it, believing that you can endure is absolutely amazing, because I've studied the neuroscience around just believing that a breakthrough will happen, believing that things will manifest themselves in your life, just believing and staying the course. This is about staying the course. Endurance is about never giving up. And that's what we got to be thinking about in this journey, in this life. Because if we don't give up, then we can show ourselves that we are even more resilient than we think we are. And I'm sure as we went through this past year, every last one of you that are probably tuning in today had to endure something. And for some of you, it may have been loss. For some of you, it may have been isolation. It may have been a whole bunch of other things, a loss of job, a change of a job, some things differently, adjusting to new technology, but you endured it. And you've shown yourself that you may have been resistant initially, may have been combative initially, all in the name of uncertainty. But what you have shown yourself is that you can do it. You can make it happen. So endurance is followed by the V. This V in believe is value. And value is what I need us never to forget. Because we gotta really, if I'm wanting breakthrough and I want to emerge, then I need to recognize the value I bring to the marketplace. Then I need to recognize during these times, am I growing so that I can be marketable for my company? Am I growing so that I can be multi-diverse in terms of what they might need from me? Am I resisting because it takes me outside of my comfort zone? Because I can tell you, when we resist in time of crisis, we become indispensable. Okay? We become disposable. They get rid of us. Okay? But when we are open, when we are willing to grow, when we are willing to move in a pace of acceptance and trying new things, then we become options for other folks. Okay? We become opportunities. We become options. We become selected for other folks. But when we're resistant, no one wants to work with you. When you don't see your value, if you don't see your value, how can you expect somebody else to? And I always use the example, if I see a job posting that says we paying 70 to 100,000, I bet you everybody that's tuning in right now would tell me they want the 100,000. But are we showing up average? If we showing up average, then we can't expect to get the 100,000. We get the minimum. Well, I need to know that I'm worth the 100, which means I need to bring that. I need to emerge with those qualities, with that growth, with that development, with that level of influence that convinces others that that value that I say is I'm presenting is what I will give and what I will offer and what I can get in return. But if I don't know my value in the marketplace, then that means I will accept whatever it is. See, we got to define ourselves through our purpose, not allowing others to define us for us. And if you don't understand who you are in this world, then people will call you, do you, use you, and do all manner of things to you. and you'll along with the flow. But when we operate in purpose and we know what that is, and we know what our value is, not only for ourselves as an individual, and we believe in ourselves and we love ourselves in the utmost possible way that we can, then you're unwavering what you offer. Can't nobody tell you you're not worth something. You come in a totally different way. You show up knowing your value. But then I want to leave you with this before I take any questions that anybody have, is this last E. And the last E in the word believe, I want you to consider the word essential. And I like this word essential because, as you have seen over the course of the year and even in 2021, the government themselves have utilized this word essential as a means of defining and describing who can get the vaccine first, even all the way up to who can work during the whole time. And we've even defined essential workers. I mean, now essential workers are custodial workers. Now essential workers are warehouse folks, whereas we didn't have high value on those folks prior to the pandemic. But now we want them in there to clean now. We want them in there to keep the grocery store stocked up. We want them in there for bagging now. We love our nurses and our EMS folks on the front line now, but we didn't consider them as essential before. Well, I want each and every one of us to understand that notion, but bring that home. You need to operate as though you are essential, regardless of what anybody else says. And you need to show up as though you are essential. You define whether you are essential or not. You don't need anybody, let alone the government, to decide whether you are essential. You need to know that. Well, you know that through your value. You know that through how you are able to endure through these times of crisis. You know that by the positive influence that you bring. You know you're essential as you reflect on those life lessons that you have. And you know you are essential. Why? Because you will emerge through this breakthrough stronger, wiser, better than ever. And that, my folks, my friends and family that's maybe tuning in, is how you believe through crisis. And if you just take these little nuggets and you apply these into your heart of your mind, and you start to work at these things on a daily basis, there's no telling where you can go with your life, with your business, with your purpose, with your passion, whatever you got going on. But this is always going to start with you believing. And if you don't believe, then it's going to be hard for you to do any one of these things that I just talked about today.
Miss Nick, I was on mute, but I was like, the amen corner, like, if that was a drop the mic, tear down the virtual stage, Mr. Nick, man, listen here. This was so good. All of this was so good. Like, oh my geez. It was so much you said. There were comments. I was commenting a lot myself. There were comments. I'm gonna scroll all the way to the top. Japea was saying amen, and she says, come on, brother, come on. He can't, Mr. Nick can't back, but Mr. Nick knows stuff. I like it. They just come in, they don't make a big deal, but they boom. Mr. Nick about that. Miss Apostle April Kofi, she said she's yet holding on. Miss Royalty McGee said my life changed, time for my breakthrough. Miss Royalty McGee, if you listen to Mr. Nick, he gave some practical things you can implement right now. One thing you said, I was like, oh my gosh. Oh, and then she said, yes, we are so blessed. One thing you said, and I typed that down, what you said you share with your group, if I could just make it until tomorrow. I was like, what? That is so for people who are in like crisis mode, or you feel like something has overwhelmed you. Sometimes you think you're not gonna make it until the end. And it is not even because it's a physical sickness. It could be a mental, emotional sickness. It could be a break. So when you said that, I said, I got it. That's something I can hold on when I'm going through. Like if I can just make it until tomorrow.
That's right. Don't eat the elephant whole. Just tell yourself, all I need is to get to this time tomorrow.
That's good.
It makes it sound a whole lot less overwhelming.
It really does. It really does. When you start thinking about just tomorrow, because I guess what God said, don't worry. You know, I take care of the ravens and everything else. Like, don't worry about tomorrow, because when you start, and I know I speak for my personal experience, when I start thinking about next week and next month, that stuff does become overwhelming, and you don't even really know how it's going to play out. So if I can get to this time tomorrow, you need to call that, Mr. Vickers. I don't know if you already called that or put it in some of your material, but that's good right there. Something you talked about, and I'm so thankful. I remember when you first told me that you had COVID. I'm so thankful that you are yet still here. That's what a Hampshire whole man is. God just helps you.
Yes, praise God.
Hey, hallelujah. And you talked about how, you said your mind, your mental and your emotional, it was still healthy. You could still praise God. And I think about, it's a scripture, it's Proverbs 18:14. The New Living Translation says this. And I remember maybe like in 2017, 2018, no, 2017, I believe. I had emergency surgery and didn't realize it was like sick unto death. And my spirit, I was good, but my body was like sick. And I remember that scripture came back. Who can endure? You can endure a sick body, but who can endure a crushed spirit? So I was like, man. And then I had a friend from high school that came, like, he just came out of nowhere. We realized we stayed like 10 minutes apart. He would come over. We would laugh. I laughed so much, Mr. Nick, during that time. I think that's what expedited my recovery, because I was really, really physically sick, but my emotions were good. And I'm like, wow. And when you said it, I was like, that's true. That's really true.
Mm-hmm. You would be surprised how even now in the hospitals, they encourage you to stay positive. They encourage you to could have that positive outlook, to be in a space of mentally and emotionally wellness, and even mindfulness and meditation and praying. All of those things help to foster the body to heal. And when we're not in that space, and in some places, I mean, I've heard people say, they just gave up. They just gave up and they go downhill.
Mm-hmm.
All in the name of they just gave up. They just don't want to, try anymore, and they just exhausted, and they just, I've heard people tell me that, and then I've heard people say, I was fighting. And those are the times when you say to yourself, wow, man, for somebody to have that happen and then they come all the way back out, there was some hope in there, and there was some believing in there. Besides God, it wasn't their time, but part of that process is you got to believe it, and you got to know that, man, I can get through this. And you got to think and believe and know that your body, and he can heal your body to be able to get to that space.
Amen. Wow. So guys, listen, you can't call yourself a belief coach if you're not actually a belief coach. And you can see right now just from this that Mr. Nick is a man walking in what he talks to you about. And Mr. Nick, how you talking about like life lessons, and someone told you early on in the 90s, your life lesson, how now you still get it. And I think relationships are so key. And I think sometimes we kind of gloss over good relationships will help you with influence. If there is someone out there who may be struggling with like building healthy relationships or maintaining healthy relationships, what is one piece of advice you can give to somebody?
Mm-hmm. The big thing that I tell, especially when it comes to relationships, is when you're going into a relationship, and let's just say it's an intimate relationship, I'm always holistic. So you want to take care of your whole self first. And so I'm really big on, if I'm going into any relationship, and I would tell this for ladies and men, if you're going into relationships, do a self-analysis. And if the self-analysis doesn't say you're mentally, spiritually, and emotionally and physically well, you're not ready for a relationship, because you got work to do. And so I subscribe to the 3 S's: security, significance, and self-worth. Okay? The 3 S's: Security, significance, and self-worth. Security in your mind and your spirit, being able to work and take care of yourself, and you feel good about that. Significance, meaning in the whole grand scheme of things, how can I add value to this person and this relationship? And then self-worth is just, how do I feel about me? And if I got to go into a relationship and look for those things, meaning I don't have them for myself, I got to look for them, then I'm not ready. Because then you foster codependency and all kinds of other things, because then I'm looking for somebody else to do the work that I should be doing for me. And so if that's not working, then you shouldn't be in a relationship. And too often the challenge is that we don't want to do the work that we need to do for ourselves to make us happy. You want to be happy by yourself before you go into a relationship, not looking for happiness to enhance the happiness you already got. If you don't got it, don't go looking for it until you done created it in yourself, because it may be some times in that relationship you might need to pull on that. But if I'm looking for it in the relationship, if I'm looking for validation, if I'm looking for self-worth, if I'm looking for security, and they pull the rug out from underneath me, then what? I don't have nothing. Why? Because I should have had it before I got in the relationship. But that's work. I will tell you, we don't want to do that work. We'd rather just put a Band-Aid on it, go find somebody so I won't be by myself. Put a Band-Aid on it, I won't be by myself. Put a Band-Aid on it, and we steady hurting, steady hurting, steady hurting. We know it ain't going to work. We know it's not going to work, but we keep doing it. Work, do that internal, individualized work for you so you can show up. Now, just imagine if I do that work, what type of man I can show up and be for somebody else, or what type of lady I can show up and be available to somebody else. Just think, if I just take the time and do that work, and I don't care if that work takes a year, 2 years, it's okay. I'd rather be by myself than codependent.
Mr. Nick, but what? Apostle April said, ouch, if I have to go in a relationship and look for those things. Apostle April, I don't even know why I know I asked Mr. Nick that, but I know he's going to take it to the end. So it further confirms why somebody needs to stay single. This is so good. Do that inner work, right? Wow, Mr. Nick, that was good. That's good. And I think I know for me, even going into taking on different roles, thinking that was going to fulfill a part of me that I was lacking. And when I got in there, it exposed the more I was broken. And then it made me more anxiety and more issues. And so, dang.
Yep. Don't go in with the mindset of filling a gap, filling a void, or filling a role. When you're going to get into any relationship, always think enhancement. I want to go in and enhance what I already got. I want to go in and enhance this. I want to go in and add this to it. I want to do those type of things. That's how we should look at relationships. If I got to go in saying I got to get what I don't got, then that means I don't have to do my work. And I'm telling you, that fools a lot of people, because I mean, from trauma to hurt to abuse and all those things, we anesthetize that situation. And as long as that we stay anesthetized, we coping with it, we doing what we got to do, we never have to do our own individualized work. But then let an argument happen, let a situation happen, and we start throwing the daggers at the things that we needed for ourselves when we got into the relationship. Then the minds that's out there ready for us to step on and blow up. And the second something happens, we back to square one.
Oh my gosh, Mr. Nick, come back anytime. Anytime. Wow. This was powerful. I knew it was gonna be good, Miss Nick, but I didn't know. So guys, listen, this Mr. Nick is our keynote. Whenever we do this again, Mr. Nick is the keynote for the men always. Always. So Mr. Nick, listen, thank you so much. I'm gonna send you a Hansley Hole hoodie. So I'm gonna have to get your information. I'm gonna send it to you because you are the man, the belief coach. Miss Apostle April said, filling a gap. Yep, that's what led to being divorced over 30 years. You must do the inner work. Wow.
That's
Wow.
it.
And I love what you said, when arguments break out, it's starting to highlight some things you was I think, I don't know, I don't want to say it wrong like you said it, but I took from it.
That's right.
Things that you lack and were looking for. And it's like, man.
You don't go in a relationship giving them ammunition.
That's good. Don't give him ammunition. This speaking from a wise man. They said the older women, the younger women, and the older men teach the younger men. I believe the older men can teach younger and older women as well. So, Miss Nick, thank you. I have learned much tonight. You have definitely spoke life to us. Please tell everybody, and I have Mr. Nick, I have 2 of Mr. Nick's products. So please, Mr. Nick, please tell them how they can get in contact with you, all the books, the services that you offer. Please share with them now. So ladies, listen, you already know, you already know what Mr. Nick could do. For Father's Day, if you want to gift this and get a group of men together, invite Mr. Nick, hire him to be your keynote speaker. Please do, even before that, with your leadership teams, your ministries, your family. Mr. Nick's the man. So, Mr. Nick, can you share a little bit about what you have going on and how they can get in contact with you?
Thank you so much again for having me. And it's been an excellent opportunity today, and I'm just grateful for the opportunity. But everyone can.
Mr. Nick, you went on mute. We need to hear him and hear what he's going to say about where you can get his information from. So listen, if he's going to come back, I'm going to wait until Mr. Nick comes back tomorrow. I don't know if it's going to be tomorrow or Saturday, but you're going to see this encore live again. I'm going to replay this again. This is going to be on YouTube. This is going to be on Instagram. This is going to be on both my Facebook pages, all running concurrent at the same time, because this is amazing. This is powerful. And Mr. Nick definitely has a story, and he has encouragement to help both men and women alike. So you can see the website down at the bottom. I put the wrong one earlier. I'm so sorry. I meant to go fix that. NicholasDillon.com. NicholasDillon.com. And as soon as he comes back, I'm gonna let him close out with any parting words. But this was amazing. This was totally amazing. And I'm so glad that he was here. Go ahead, Nick.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear now.
Okay, great. Yes, I always like to leave with this quote, and this is a favorite quote I like to leave my audiences with that are tuning in. And because for me in life, everything is going to be led by our mindset, belief in our mindset, and a lot can happen. And I will tell you, the enemy is always going to attack a lot of the physical things. But the thing that I want you to really focus on is your mindset. Because if you can manage your mindset, then you can manage everything else that happens in your life. And so I want to leave everybody with this quote, and that is, it takes a moment, just a moment, for us to make a positive choice about changing what the trajectory of our life will look like. But for a lot of people, it takes a lifetime to get to that moment. And so what I say to each and every one that's tuning in tonight is believe and make today, your moment.
Wow. You're dropping all kinds of stuff, Mr. Nick. All kinds of stuff. That's powerful. I love that. Mr. Nick, go ahead and tell them what you offering. If you have anything lined up that you're doing yourself. Guys, listen, whenever I bring people on this platform, these are people that I actually trust, that I listen to. And so I would encourage you to go follow Mr. Nicholas Dillon on all of his platforms. go sign up on his newsletter, check out his website. So Mr. Nick, you can let us know anything else you have going on.
I would say listen in. I just finished a new product, a new book that's coming out. And so stay tuned. Follow me on all the social medias and tune in. And you will hear about a new book. It's called the Belief Mindset. And it's an excellent book that's coming out this year. And stay tuned. I'm hopefully crossing my fingers that I can do some book tours. So you might very well see me in a small, intimate setting in your area. So I'm excited about that. And like I said, just welcome anybody. I will also let you know, if you go to Believe University, freegift.com, that's Believe University, freegift.com, you can download a free gift that just talks about 12 self-defeating beliefs and 12 alternative outcomes. And it's just a free gift that I like to give, and that starts you doing that mental mindset work to get rid of those self-defeating beliefs and get on the right track to believing in yourself. I'd like to offer that to any and everyone. And if you go on my site, you can see all the books that I have available right now. And like I said, there's some new ones coming out.
Wow, Mr. Nick, listen, if you're doing a book tour, if you coming anywhere close to me, I am coming. And I hope you come here, because I would definitely come. Mr. Nick, did I put this right? Believe University, freegift.com. Is that right?
Right.
Guys, listen, it's in the chat box. Go click on it. Take opportunity of the free gift. This was a free gift. Him speaking live to us tonight was the ultimate free gift. But please go and get the supplemental information that he has on the website. Check it out. Share it with your family. Share it with your friends. Share it with your group. You never know who's looking for a powerful speaker, especially men. That I'm in a circle with a lot of women, but when you have powerful men, it's like, boom, here he is. So thank you again, Mr. Nick. I am so excited. I am so thrilled. I'm so happy that you came back for a second time. Tell your wife, your family, thank you so much for allowing you to share this time with us tonight. It has been amazing. For those of you who are watching, thank you for watching. For those of you who do the replay, Mr. Nick, when you stepped away, I was sharing with them that I'm going to replay this. I'm going to upload this again on Saturday and probably one day next week. So it's going to go to all my social media. So it's going to be like it's an encore live again, because I'm going to keep pushing this out because more people need to hear your voice. So thank you tonight for speaking life. And we'll say good night.
Thank you so much.
You are welcome. We'll say good night to all you beautiful people. Have an amazing night. And we'll see you the next time on Speak Life.